Hi, I'm Lisa Goldberg, Vice President of Marketing, joined today by our Chief Field Operations Officer, Nick Johnson. Thank you for joining us today for a special episode of Live at the Lab. So, Nick, we recently launched Metabolic Synchronization, right? Our breakthrough science that reverses metabolic dysfunction by resetting the body's metabolism. It's a major step forward in supporting lifelong transformation. And of course, it's proprietary to us, right? We are the only ones that do this. Today, we're sharing some brand new insights into how Americans view their metabolic health. It may surprise you to know that 93% have concerns about some aspect of their metabolic health, but less than half of Americans have even heard of the term metabolic health. Before they heard the term, most people didn't give it much thought. But once they did know about it, concern over their metabolic health more than doubled. In fact, more than 80% were interested in reversing metabolic dysfunction. Many are already feeling the effects: low energy, poor sleep, low vitality, weight struggles. Understanding what metabolic health means can help them recognize the importance of taking action to improve it. It's really a wake up call and an incredible opportunity to educate consumers and really change lives. So, Nick, I can't wait to get your take on what this means for coaches, their businesses, and the impact ahead.
Okay. A lot of people claim that they don't understand what metabolic health is, right? They hear the word and they're like, I don't know what that is. They're immediately overwhelmed with the things that they don't know. But the reality is, everybody knows it. Here's an example. When people are going to their doctor, right, you go for a checkup, what are they actually checking?
Your metabolic health?
The metabolic health of the person in front of them. It's not a foreign concept. We just don't express it that way. We use different terminology for it. Metabolic health, we experience it all the time. The effects of poor metabolic health are what most people sadly experience. Our program is reversing metabolic dysfunction. But rather than focusing on those specific terms, we focus on how it feels. I grew up in the 80s, loved cartoons, G.I. Joe, and I remember there was always remember that public service announcement? Did you watch G.I. Joe? Okay. It was like the little PSA after the fact of something happened, kids were playing with something, something explodes, and they're like, you shouldn't do that. And it was like, knowing is half the battle, right? And that stuck with me as a kid. Knowing is half the battle. Okay, so if the battle is against metabolic dysfunction, knowing is half the battle. And it's important for us to understand how we talk about and dimensionalize the problem. But quite frankly, people know it because they're living it. And when you start to draw attention to the fact that metabolic health is not some foreign concept, it's what we live with, it's our true lived experience, people will start to wake up and say, actually, I know a lot more than I thought I did about metabolic health. But sadly, it's because I'm experiencing poor metabolic health. Conversely, when people start to get healthy, what is actually happening? Their metabolic health is improving. The same is true when you get healthy. You start experiencing life differently, right? You feel different. You feel better. You feel more energized, right? You're less cloudy in your thinking. You're more structured. You embrace activities that you couldn't embrace before. Why is that? People say, oh, it's because I got healthy. But how did they actually get healthy? Well, their metabolism started to improve. Here's another great kind of misconception in the public about metabolism. I think when most people hear the word metabolism, they think, oh, when I was younger, I had a great metabolism and I could eat whatever I wanted. That's actually not true, or it's kind of a half truth. You're only getting one side of it, which is controlling of energy expenditure, right? How efficient is your body at consuming the energy that it has, one, stored, and two, consumed? And true, as metabolisms become less efficient, they do a poor job at regulation of energy sources, especially when we keep shoveling more energy into our mouths rather than utilizing the energy that we've stored. So, to be honest, Lisa, I don't think it's a difficult concept to explain once you express it into how people actually live and experience health. And it comes down to how they feel. But again, every doctor's appointment, what are you checking for? They're checking for your metabolic health. Full stop.
Yeah, absolutely. And we know based on the survey that once people understand it, they are very driven to try to fix it.
Mhm.
What makes this new scientific breakthrough such a huge opportunity for our coaches?
Well, considering the fact that over 90% of US adults have metabolic dysfunction in some way, shape, or form, That's just one big point to make. Sadly, people's metabolisms have been out of sync for so long that they're experiencing poor health, specifically in the form of poor metabolic health. And it's happening for most of their adult lives. One of the things that I'm reminded of is that poor metabolic health begins very early on. When your metabolism starts to get out of sync, you often don't know it, right? We often wait until things have gone so wrong that it affects the way we want to live. Our quality of life starts to deteriorate. There are people, I'm sure you pass them every single day. You see the person maybe in their late 20s, early 30s, and that you know that they're probably not at their, let's call it their goal weight or a healthy body composition. They have more weight than they really need to be carrying, but they're out there running, right? They're jogging. I have these images of people I'm passing in the street all the time who are out there jogging. Whenever they're doing that, I know a couple of things about that person, and this is how it translates to a big opportunity. One, they're raising their hand and saying, "I know enough to know that I need to be moving my body more." But I think what most people get wrong is instead of focusing on nutrition, they're focusing on the other things that will contribute to those things, but the biggest portion of the problem for most people is nutrition. And our program, through the science of metabolic synchronization, is nutrition that is perfectly engineered to deliver a certain result. Okay. It's nutrition on a mission, right? It's purposeful, it's engineered for that outcome. So people need to just pause, reflect. And I would say to our coaches, metabolic synchronization that will inform the next 10 years of innovation and beyond for the company is based on this desired outcome, which is optimal metabolic health. To achieve optimal metabolic health, the body has to start working the way it was designed to work on its own, making sure that it's consuming the right amount of calories, making sure that it's consuming the right macros, the micros, all of that, and that they're incorporating healthy habits into their life. You do those things over time, you build self efficacy. Guess what happens? You reverse metabolic dysfunction. It's not that complicated. Our program is simple. It doesn't take an advanced degree to do it. We will do the metabolic synchronization science. We will deliver it and manifest it through our program. Our coaches know how to activate our program. Why? Because they're living proof of metabolic synchronization. Their metabolic health has improved.
Yeah, love that. And we know that the first stage of our metabolic synchronization process, targeted reset, does an incredible job managing that nutrition intake, and brings in that exercise when it's the right time.
Mm-hmm.
For those who think metabolic dysfunction is unavoidable
Mm-hmm.
and unreversible, what's the truth? And why is it empowering to know that it is actually reversible?
Well, one of the things that is important to understand is whenever you find yourself in a situation where you're just not feeling right, your body is sluggish, your mind is, you know, not firing the way that it used to, you can ask yourself the question, is this how it's going to be for me forever? Or is there something I can do about it? I believe that most people think that there is something that they can do about it, unless they have a concept in them like, I'm just big boned, or,
Mhm.
grandma was this same shape and I'm always this same shape. But the reality is that that's not really true, that you can actually change those things and reverse them, right? Our coaches and our clients are living proof of that. So, whether you think that it's reversible or not, let's start there. These things can change. Your body's changing every single day. It's just which direction is it changing? How do you chart the course towards health, metabolic health versus the course that you're on? So there is no stasis, right? Things are always in flux. They're always changing. So I think it's sort of a moot point. You're always changing, you're always evolving. The body is doing what it's doing. It's just what path is it on? How do you chart the new course? Here's what I would say too. We because our program is designed to create mindfulness, right? We create mindfulness around what we're doing. We don't necessarily need to know all of the processes that are going on inside of our bodies, but we need to know enough to know how to influence them, right? Okay. I'll give an example. We pay very close attention if you drive a car to what? The dashboard, right?
Mhm.
You have all these indicators on the dashboard. They are indicators that tell you, hey, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, right? So it's no different in our bodies. We have just different indicators. Some people really know how to read them. Some people don't. Okay, our job is to make sure that they know how to read them. Now, if you were driving and you saw a bunch of scary lights flashing, what would you do?
Pull over.
You'd probably pull over. Okay. Why?
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong. Okay. Now, and I'm not going to speak to the people who love seeing those lights. It's like I'm just going to push it. I don't care. Right. The people who it's like check engine. It's like, maybe it was just a
Risk
fluke.
takers.
They're risk takers, right? I'm not speaking to those people. I'm speaking about most people who, when they see a check engine light, or a lot of people when the fuel light goes on, it's like panic mode. I'm going to
Mhm.
run out of gas, and I cannot run out of gas. And there are people who will take it right to the line.
Yep.
But the fact is, there's an indicator. There's indicators happening all over, right? In our bodies
Yeah.
too. We just don't know how to read them. But I can tell you this, poor metabolic health shows up. And when it does, and when it sneaks up, the people who are paying attention, they know that that's not how they're meant to feel. That's not how their body was meant to perform. They know something's changed. And unless they give in to the concept that, well, that's just how aging goes, even though there is plenty of evidence that people can maintain a quality of life and experience health well into quote unquote old age, unless they give into the concept that these things are irreparable, you can't ever change them, there's an opportunity for us. Okay. The other thing I would say about where metabolic synchronization and this tremendous opportunity is going is, think about this. If people know how to respond to when their car goes crazy, right? And check engine lights everywhere. And if they know how to respond to the one indicator, which is fuel, okay, I need to fuel. Whether it's an electric car, whether it's, gas, it doesn't matter. When it's fuel or energy is running low, it's time to replenish with energy. Our bodies are no different, right? They're no different.
Mhm.
They need energy. Okay. The sad thing is, when we're fueling our bodies too much and too frequently, we, like a gas tank, don't have limitless supplies, right? So what happens? If you went to the gas station, started filling up your car, and it topped off, and you just said, just to be safe, I'm going to keep going, what would happen?
I'm going to be covered in gas.
You're going to be covered in gasoline. People are going to be calling the police like, hey, there's something wrong here. It's like, no, I just want to be extra prepared in case. And it's like, well, that doesn't work that way, right?
Right.
The gas tank is full. Now any excess of fuel is spilling over. The sad thing is, for us, when we do that, when we consume too much fuel and we store it in our quote unquote gas tank, there is a certain capacity that is designed for excess storage, right? In case of a rainy day,
Mhm.
or in case we need to hibernate for the winter, or in
Yeah.
case whatever it is, just to survive. But what happens is, we don't have the automatic shut off. And we don't, even if that doesn't exist, we don't have just places to just have it spill over. It spills over into our viscera, into our bodies. It goes into the wrong places. So it's bad fat in the wrong places. All of that energy needs to be consumed. People fundamentally know this. They know these things. They know that. I don't think that they're quite aware of what that damage over time is doing to their system. But here's the most important part. Through metabolic synchronization, where we can actually reverse metabolic dysfunction, where one of the signs of metabolic dysfunction is excess weight, especially that dangerous bad fat, that visceral fat, and how we can reduce it clinically 14% in just 16 weeks.
Mhm.
People need to understand that, because they understand they aren't meant to be storing that energy. They know that they need to burn that energy. And they also know that they don't want to lose muscle. And that is critical. And these are hallmarks of our program, right? This is incredible breakthrough science through metabolic synchronization that we now get to share with the entire world through our coaches. See, I think people really do understand what's going on more than they think they do. They just don't have the language to express it. We're giving coaches, specifically our coaches and their clients, new language to express what metabolic dysfunction is, how they can address it, and most importantly, how they can reverse it.
Yeah, and it's so critical for people to pay attention to those alarm bells, right? Because we know oftentimes, if we let it go for too long, it can do irreversible damage.
Correct.
But if they catch it early enough,
Mhm.
then we can certainly help reverse that.
Yep.
How do you think about lifespan versus health span? And how
Oh,
do you see that manifesting in our coach community?
okay. So I've shared I've shared this with a few people. I've shared this with, some of our coaches, some of our leaders. Uh, the difference between lifespan and health span for me is very, very personal. I think most people relate to this. For me, it's quite simple. I have a 6-year-old and, you know, I'm not the youngest parent. So I'm 45, I have a 6-year-old. I want to be around well beyond her, college days and well into young adulthood. I want to be around for her kids, and I even want to be around for her kids' kids.
Right, all those major milestones.
All those major milestones. But here's the thing. I actually would prefer not to be around that long if A, I'm a burden, B, I'm not able to enjoy the things that I enjoy in life, and C, both of those happening at the same time, that doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
So when I think about the difference between lifespan and health span, it's enjoying the things that you enjoy for as long as you can enjoy them at a very high level. That's just me. I think most people want to experience that the same way. They don't want to be a burden, right? They don't want to have to go live out their days disconnected from family. They don't want to be disconnected from the major milestones, but they want to be around for those milestones.
Yeah,
But if you're around for them and
right.
you're not
You're
experiencing
in the
them, you're in
hospital all
pain,
the
you're in and out
time.
of hospice, like all of those things, that's the difference, right? Biological age is one thing. Your chronological age is another thing. So biological age and chronological age don't actually have to be the same. They're not the same. A lot of that comes down to your metabolism, your metabolic health. So, what we get the opportunity to explore here now with metabolic synchronization as our foundational scientific platform is let's see if we can widen that gap.
Mhm.
Let's see if we can widen the gap between my biological age and my chronological age, right? I want my biological age to be much, much lower. So I want to be stunning people, right? When I'm 100 years old and they're like, "Wow, you're still doing all these things. I would never guess you're 100." That's the goal for me.
Yeah.
And I think most people would share that goal because here's the thing, why wouldn't you want to continue to experience life if you can still experience it for the most part to the fullest? You would never want to just kind of pack it in and say, "Well, that's it for me."
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. Life becomes a burden when you're not able to actually enjoy it, right? It becomes a burden to you and other people and all those things. People don't want to feel that way. So, our opportunity here is to talk about lifespan, but the quality of life, which we would call health span. So, how long can we take your health into the future, right?
Yeah.
Living at a certain level.
I love that. I hope you're running trails well into your hundreds.
Hope so.
That's my expectation of you.
Nope, no doubt.
So, for someone who is watching or listening today,
Hmm.
why is now the perfect time to join our community as a client or as a coach?
Well, first of all, I think it's wise counsel to take action the moment that you experience something of a wake up call.
Mhm.
Um,
Those alarm bells.
those alarm bells, I think most people tend to set an alarm, right? We all have these alarms for things like, okay, it's this year I'm finally going to get healthy, or this year I'm finally going to get out of debt, or this year, this year, this year. And we have these high hopes, high aspirations, and we really want to accomplish something. And the alarm goes off. Something happens, right? It's an event, right? In some cases, it's a health scare for a lot of people. And then the alarm still is on, but we get used to it. It's like drown out by life again, but the alarm's still there. Or we do the other thing, which is No, I'm feeling very motivated to do something and make a change. I want to grow my business, or I want to do X, Y, and Z, and then we hit the snooze button. Like, oh, I'll come back to it later. But the thing is, the alarm is still going off. The snooze is an illusion. There is no snooze on life. You cannot pause it. You cannot stop it. It will always continue to march forward. So, what I would say to anybody who is looking to engage more actively in their health, start yesterday. And if you can't start yesterday, start today. For coaches, we know that our clients are 10x more successful in losing weight, 17 times the fat loss, just the fat loss alone, right? By connecting to a coach. Why? Because we're a social species, right? We're social creatures. We actually want accountability. We want to go with somebody else who's maybe done it before. So I say, well, what are we waiting for? You need to start the movement now. The movement is we're waking up, we're checking the dashboard of our life, specifically of our health. We're reading the indicators correctly, and we're acting appropriately in accordance with that indicator. So for coaches, I would say, okay, well, what else do I need to know? Let's see, 90% of adults just in the United States have poor metabolic health, right?
Yeah.
Metabolic dysfunction is literally everywhere. It's actually the biggest opportunity that we've ever experienced. And I say that with a little bit of sadness, but a whole lot of excitement, right? Sadness because of the state we're in, excitement because we have a chance to do something about it. And we're doing something about it.
Right. It's deadly, right? We know 9 out of 10 of the leading causes of death in this country are related to metabolic health.
9 out of 10 attributed to poor metabolic health. 9 out of 10. What more do we need? That's it. Like, once we wake up to the fact that this is not how we're supposed to be, this is not how we're meant to live, and you get enough people behind a movement to actually say, we're making a different choice. And guess what? Metabolic synchronization is designed to put the body back into harmony. It's designed to have the body work better for you, right? It can do all of this on its own. How do we know that? Well, because once upon a time, it did that for you. Okay. Well, if it could do it once, can it do it again? Yeah, it's actually designed for that. That's how it's
That's
designed.
right. The receipts, right? We have the studies.
We have the
Prove it.
studies, we have the proof, and we have the people who have actually been very, very poor shape metabolically, right? Very, very poor metabolic health.
Yeah.
Overweight, obesity, all those things. And we see them totally transformed. And it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery how they did it. It's the science of metabolic synchronization in action, connected to a coach and connected to an incredible community, starting a societal movement to restore the health that is available to people. It's available, right? So I go back to my comment around GI Joe and the more you know, or whatever that was, the PSAs from back in the day. The more you know, or
Back in the
knowing,
80s. Yeah.
yeah, back in the 80s, you know, knowing is half the battle. And I think that's true. Knowing is half the battle. But then what is the first step? So we're super excited. Metabolic synchronization is the biggest breakthrough I've ever seen my entire career. We're right at the epicenter of a huge mega trend of metabolic health. And we're right there. My opinion, best program ever. My opinion, best business opportunity ever. I love what we get to do every single day.
All right. Wow. What an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for being with us today at Live from the Lab. We have just an incredible future in front of us, right? With the breakthrough of metabolic synchronization and our ability to reverse metabolic dysfunction. We are so excited to bring this to the world and talk more about it. There will be so much more coming soon from Live from the Lab. Please make sure that you tune into the next one. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.